Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast powered by Carolina Electrical Services. For all your electrical needs, call 704-320-7357 and Jacob Marlowe will take care of all of your electrical needs in a timely manner. Josh here with you today. Anthony is actually live on the scene in the ACC tournament as we preview tonight's ACC Quarterfinal matchup with Louisville coming up later tonight at 7 o'clock, and I'll take you through that. By myself, and Anthony will rejoin us later tonight for a recap and a possible preview of the semifinal game if Carolina was to advance. We're going to start off with the opening tip brought to you by Rodan & Fields Executive Director Joy Marlowe. For all your skincare needs, call 803-804-0200. And in today's segment, I'm going to let you listen to an interview I had with R.L. Bynum of the Triangle Sports Network from earlier in the week, previewing the ACC tournament and all what Carolina needs to do to earn a potential number one seed in next week's ACC tournament. I want to thank RL for joining me and giving us some great insight about this week's tournament. I'm going to update you on the bracket with it being quarterfinal Thursday in Charlotte. The number one seed Virginia is playing NC State as of right now. Game just tipped off moments ago, and they're underway. The second game will feature Florida State and Virginia Tech in the 4-5 matchup. The winner, of course, will play the winner of Virginia and NC State tomorrow on semifinal Friday. Carolina, of course, plays Louisville tonight at 7, the first game of the night session, and then Duke takes on 6-seeded Syracuse. After our game, as you all know, Zion Williamson is returning for the Blue Devils. This will be his first action since he hurt his ankle or his knee against Carolina back on February 20th. So as we go ahead and look to the Louisville game, as we all know, we played this team twice in the regular season. The road team winning both games. They won in the Smith Center 83-62. Of course, the worst home loss under Roy Williams. And of course, we won back in their building a couple weeks later, 79-69. And really, the keys to the game are really the same keys that applied in both games. The team that won the rebounding margin won both games. In our place, Louisville out-rebounded us 40-31, and in their place, we out-rebounded them 49-32. So you see the rebounding disparity played a really big part in both those matchups. Carolina, surprisingly, in both games, including the one they won, didn't shoot very well. They shot 34% in the loss, 42% in the win, and only 25% from three. So it was part of the stretch where they were learning how to win without shooting the ball very well. And that's probably going to be a very good key tonight. Carolina hasn't played in roughly 6 days. There might be a little bit of rust playing a factor in tonight's game, especially early on tonight. Some other things to keep an eye on are the turnovers. We know Louisville thrives on getting up into you defensively and wanting to force turnovers and get a lot of points in transition. In the loss in Chapel Hill, Carolina turned it over 14 times. That led to just way too many easy buckets for the Cardinals. And in the second game, the Heels did a much better job limiting that to just 10 turnovers, took Louisville out of transition, made them try to work in the half court, where Carolina's defense was really good, held the Louisville to 42% from the field, and then 35% from three. That was in the win. So that was the part of the season where Carolina's defense was starting to turn it up a notch, as we've seen this team really become as good defensively in the regular season, in my opinion, as I've ever seen them under Roy Williams. We always know they turn it up in March because you got to be better this time of year on that end of the court if you want to be a really good team and win a conference championship, and then, of course, compete for a Final Four in the NCAA tournament. And then some other things. Free throws could really play a factor in tonight's game. Carolina was 79% from the foul line in the win and 70% in the loss. And that's just something this time of year. Carolina wasn't very good against Duke from the foul stripe. They were, 7-13. So they left some points there that you just can't. When the games matter this much and every little thing plays a factor, you got to take care of the little things. And I think we'll see Carolina be a lot better in that department going forward. This is Louisville's second game in 2 days. Now, granted, they had a much easier win yesterday against Notre Dame, so they're able to rest some of their players. But if I'm Carolina, I'm wanting to push the tempo, get into their bench early, and often, trying to wear this team down and see if they have the will to want to play another game in another day. They are locked into the tournament, as we all believe, so they don't necessarily need this win to lock their standing in this NCAA tournament. It could have improved their seeding. I mean, we got to remember, this was a team at one point that was top 4 in the ACC, was a top 15 team in the country. When the NCAA tournament committee released their initial top 16 teams, they were one of them. And then they had, of course, the 23-point lead at home against Duke. They eventually blew that in a matter of 8 minutes, and their season spiraled downward from there. But this team is very capable of winning. Stephen Enoch, very good player, had a double-double in the win in Chapel Hill. Jordan Nora was named the ACC Most Improved Player of the Year. Chris Mack is learning how to coach in this conference, his first year at Louisville, of course, coming over from his alma mater, Xavier, in the offseason. So this is going to be a test. They have met once before in the ACC tournament. That was back in 2015, where Carolina upset a really good Louisville team. That was, of course, coached by Rick Pitino and had a bunch of NBA players on that squad. So, going to be a tough matchup. I do like Carolina, though, to advance tonight. They seem to do very well in the quarterfinals. And just as much as Louisville has to play for with their NCAA seeding, so does Carolina. It doesn't appear that they've locked up a number one seed in many people's opinion. A win tonight would probably help make that more comfortable for them, with many believing if they meet Duke for a potential third time tomorrow night in the semifinals for the third straight year, that would be a number one seed game on the line. You always want to try to back up your ACC regular season championship by doing well in the tournament, so you don't want to go one and done. And I expect that. The last time, though, this team was in Charlotte was last year in the NCAA tournament. Of course, that was the blowout loss to Texas A&M, the first time they'd ever lost an NCAA tournament game in the home state. I think they'll take a lot of pride and want to show up. There'll be a lot of Carolina faithful in the crowd tonight and want to show out. Good for them. But ultimately, I think Carolina wins. I think the big part of that's going to be, I think Luke May is going to rebound from his subpar scoring effort against the Blue Devils from this past Saturday. But I think something we forgot to mention was he had 16 rebounds and 7 assists. So it was still a factor in the game. Just wasn't as dominant on the offensive end as we want him to be and need him to be, but I think he'll respond in a really big way tonight and lead Carolina to a comfortable win as they'll move into the semifinal round tomorrow night. Now we'll move on to the buzzer beater part of this podcast before we shut it down. And just some notes about the ACC tournament. Carolina has won the event 18 times, which is second most behind Duke, who's won it 20 times. They've won 100 games in the ACC tournament, which is tied with most, of course, with Duke. They're 21-7 in Charlotte, and 5 of their ACC tournament championships have come in Charlotte. Most recently, coming back in 2008, if you remember, Tyler Hansborough hit a buzzer beater in the semifinals against Virginia Tech to push Carolina to the championship game. It was one of my early memories as a Carolina basketball fan was him hitting that shot and running down the floor, and really just a really fun time. And I think that's about it for the ACC tournament and this part of the buzzer beater. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to encourage you guys to check out the blog, the Roy's Boys blog. You can find on medium.com, Facebook, or Twitter. Check out the Roy's Boys podcast. You can find us on any of your podcast devices, iTunes, iHeart, Google Play, Spotify, and all those other areas you will find the Roy's Boys podcast. Well, thank you guys for listening, and go Tar Heels.